get started. Are you?
We're ready on time still. We're ready on time still. Yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna start from 5. You go on go. Okay.
All right, let's do it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Let's go with text. So I'm going to be running the Japanese version, Rockman X2 Solar Racer, because the game is a bit faster by at least a minute when it comes to text. Now, of course, this is why I'm running the emulated version. At some point, eventually, I will acquire a physical Japanese version because I do have the means to play it. But for now, this is considered the faster version, and I feel like we might as well just go fast because, hey, that's what a speedrun's all about.
Yeah, so it's actually quite inexpensive to get this cartridge. To be honest, getting cartridge alone would be only about $20, and getting cartridge in box would be about $40, which is surprising for just the Japanese release. But this game actually did sell quite well, even though it's relatively unknown. The plot of the game is in between X3 and 4, as mentioned. And basically, there's this island, and they're like, well, there's some weird things happening on this island. Reploids are losing their souls, so they're like, oh, let's investigate. And so you have Iris. Whoops.
Well, first, before we get to that, hey, chat, we have our intro boss, the Mechanolide Skullhead, but I always like to call him Mega Skeletor, so please get your yes going real quick, because curses X foiled again!
So yeah, the most important thing is that when we turned auto fire on and auto charge off, auto charge in this boss fight essentially would give the boss like constant, would basically be like a stun move, which would give it invincibility frames every time you used a charge shot. So we don't want auto charge on, but we want auto fire on, so we don't have to like rapid fire by mashing. So this is the best way to do things. Because the boss doesn't have invincibility frames otherwise, you just sort of jump in, then wait to shoot, and then just get the boss dead that way. Sometimes you can get very lucky, and you can get a platform to spawn, which you can then jump on top of and then hit the boss. The most important thing with this, with X though, is to make sure you know how to jump and when to start shooting, because that will influence how many hits you get each jump. And we have another bit of text here, but after this bit of text, we are going to go into... This is essentially half the game, which is interesting, because the way the game is structured, as Tempest alluded to, the game starts off with just Zero Mission and X Mission unlockable, but there is a Xtreme mode that's unlockable. Confusingly, Xtreme 2 has a mode called Just Xtreme, which is the name of the first game. Go with it. Basically combining the four Mavericks that you fight against as X and the 4 Mavericks you fight against as Zero, allowing you to swap between them as early as possible, and then completing the game that way. It also unlocks the true final boss and also the refights. So this game, this mode is only going to go through 4 Mavericks total, and it's only going to go through a total of
3 fortress stages, essentially.
Yeah. So we only get access to Zero for the last section as well, for the fortress stages.
But we will be getting to see him, so technically the whole idea of X Mission being X Mission is kind of a partial lie, but honestly for the better, because it's really nice to know that this game is what essentially fostered the swap mechanic that X7 and X8 would have, and so I feel like this game really is kind of underappreciated. I feel like, but it's done a lot of firsts for the series that I can honestly appreciate. With that in mind, yeah, I'm not going to be using Zero too much, but I'll try to give him as much of a fighting.
You don't really need to as X. In fact, you probably shouldn't in most instances.
Right. The only reason I do is because in certain cases, I feel like trying to say take more damage as Zero will give me a better chance in the stuff that I'm going to use.
The fortress stages,
yeah.
Yeah. There are some pretty difficult spots in this run, to be honest. Especially X any percent. Any percent is it can be rough, especially in the second fortress stage. But a lot of the times it's just better to be safer here. As a X. Which is why you only get some of, for instance, you try to damage the platforms with the enemies on them instead of just trying to damage boost through them, because your health is limited, especially if you're doing this as the first stage. I mean, I still get a lot of damage if I do this as the 6th or 7th stage in Extreme mode. So it's first stage is always one of the harder ones to begin with in the X series and a lot of the safer ones. But now we have Neon Tiger. Neon Tiger can give us 2 different patterns. There's one where Neon Tiger just goes to the ground and does this sort of crouching dive. That's what we want for the start. And then after that, we actually want him to stay on the wall so he doesn't actually do his desperation attack. So far, you're getting a pretty good pattern, though. And essentially just going to stop. And as soon as you get this pattern, you're going to want to like manipulate where it shoots by standing low on the ground. But that was very clean. That was extremely clean for Neon Tiger.
That was probably one of the cleanest Tiger fights I've had yet.
Oh, for sure.
All right, so something that I should explain about... Oh, wait, first let me... Okay, so we did not get it. Something that we might see within every time I get a weapon from these 4 Mavericks is a rare occurrence called fast text. Now, you saw how fast the text scrolled when I was holding the button. Normally you can't do that with the "you got this weapon," but if it does happen, that's what we call fast text. Now, it was assumed that it could have been a button press, but that doesn't always seem to be the case. We don't really know why it happens, but if it can save us a bit of time, and it's always appreciated when it does happen. In fact, It actually happened for the first time during my last run, so that was a really nice experience. So here's hoping we might see it again today.
Yeah.
Otherwise...
I mean, it's not something you should rely on. That's something really important to mention about this. It's not something to rely on because it doesn't save that much. It does save time, but I've gotten golds where I had fast text before, and I split. I actually split before fast text, but even so, I've gotten golds where I got fast text on the split before and the split after, but I still golded without fast text after. So like fast text is not the be all end all. It's very minor, but it's just sort of funny when it happens.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's I had it happen once 6 times in a run out of 8, which is insane because that doesn't happen.
That was your 0 run, right?
That was no. That 0 wouldn't have that. 0 would only have 4 text boxes.
Oh, you're right.
It was the run for Midwest Speed Fest. That had 6 out of 8.
Oh yeah, no. Same idea,
which is
though.
Insane. Same run basically, but now we actually get we do get one upgrade as X, and this is the leg parts. The leg parts are really good because
yes.
So do you mind if I explain dashing?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Ooh.
Nice. You actually did 2 different things there, so I'm going to explain them in just a little bit. You did 2 different things there. But first things first, the leg parts give you an air dash. You can now air dash by double tapping A, but in this game, the only forms of dashing that you actually have, because there's no dash button, is double tapping on either left or right on the D-pad. That will give you a dash that will allow you to jump afterwards, but it won't give you a chance to it's not easy to spam those. It's not easy to go, chain those pretty quickly on the ground. There is another way to do it quickly on the ground, which is down A dashing, where you can hold down an A and then mash the A button to dash. Well, not mash, you want to time it. That doesn't allow you to dash jump out of it. That's the main issue with that sort of dashing. Really useful if you want to go really fast for a small period of time on the ground, nothing else. And the third version is air dashing, as shown, which was an unlockable as X, but is actually a default feature as 0. So 0 is typically used at the start for extreme mode.
Well, one thing that X's air dash does have over Zero's is that when we get the foot parts, he can go do his vertical up dash from X3, where 0 does not have that. But with the foot parts, all the same, he becomes movement viable as 0. So
yeah.
Oh, yo,
actually slightly more. You got fast text?
Yeah, that was fast text, all right.
It was, yep. So sometimes it just happens. No inputs sometimes at all. I mash anyways because I think it might be something stored, but we don't know. We've looked into a lot of stuff with it. It just happens. It is a decent amount of time saved because it is unskippable text that just is somehow faster sometimes for no reason. Fun. That dash movement in this game is what makes it really fun. Movement in this game is really unique compared to any other X game, even compared to Xtreme 1, which technically does still have a dash button. Because Xtreme 2 doesn't have a dash button, a lot of the movement is very different. And one of the features that actually got that little cycle skip that Tempest got there in Volt Catfish is something known as the I don't even know what we call it. Momentum jumps. I call them frame perfect dash jumps because essentially if you
can call them momentum jumps.
We don't have names for them because we don't rely on them, but essentially there's this little exploit you can do where if you jump on the frame or something as you land or before you land, What can happen is what can happen
Yeah.
though is you can chain the momentum of your dash, or either whether it be air, ground, or otherwise. You can chain the momentum of that and go forward, keep on going forward with the same momentum as you would have in the air from that dash. In this underwater section, it actually gives you the speed of the air dash in air, not in water. So it's actually the fastest way to travel through this area, interestingly enough. So like the dash on the ground in water here is slower than the dash in the ground in the air. Or, sorry, in the ground above water or in the air. So if you can get those frame perfect jumps, it really does help. You actually got one right at the end there, for instance.
Yeah.
At the end of before he entered this boss.
Yeah, Utuboros, and normally you could fight two of them, but we only just fight the one before the boss gate, because the other one is more for 100%. All right, so if you guys want to, you guys are gonna look at one of my favorite boss strats of the category. Don't blink. This, we try to get this as fast as we can. But coming up is Launch Octopus. He has the same little exploit in X1, where if you cut off his tentacles, he can't use his Drain Tornado attack, and here it puts him in this stun animation that I can just keep on using Tri-Thunder, his technical weakness, and then just try to defeat him as fast as he can. Now, because he gets out of the stun animation at some point, that does mean he keeps jumping and shooting missiles, but that was really good. He didn't give me that much grief, so... yeah, that was definitely...
yeah.
I love it
it's good to use that, and that's... we're now done with 3 of the 4. Basically, the order we're going through here is weakness order. The easiest boss to defeat as X is Neon Tiger, for reasons that we've seen. Neon Tigers is pretty easy.
Not to mention that he's the only boss in X's category that actually doesn't have a weakness that you can get through normal means of play. For the sake of trying to have a full 8-boss weakness chain, Capcom, just like in Xtreme 1, they kind of sort of
made one of the things unobtainable in one of the selections. So Neon Tiger's weakness, I forget what it is. What is it?
It's Tunnel Rhino's weapon, which for X
is a zero-only boss, which is unlockable in Xtreme, because Xtreme combines all the bosses together, but not a thing in X's mission at all.
At least not speedrun viable. There technically is, we just don't really implement it into the run, because there's not that too much of a difference. Zero's case maybe a bit, because the funny part is that Neon Tiger's weapon is the final boss's weakness for him. So, like, the actual weakness. There is an exploit that does make his fight easier, but, you know, the official weakness would have been Neon Tigers if Zero had natural access to it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. But yeah, that's essentially why we're doing it in this order. We also mentioned earlier when we were showing off stuff that we use Select for weapon change. That's really useful and handy because the other option is to switch to Zero for that thing. So this is Flame Mammoth.
And
with the wrong music. We didn't actually mention the music. Shoot.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The music is wrong in the Japanese release. In the international version, that's fixed. It's just wrong. They switched Flame Mammoth's music and Launch Octopus's music.
Yeah. That was a good 4 Mavericks fight, I gotta say. That was pretty clean. I mean,
Volt Catfish's music is the same music.
Yeah,
this I know. Volt Catfish's music is correct. It's just not the entire song.
Yeah, the only thing that they flubbed up on was
the theme of the stage, and the actual look of the stage though is Toxic Seahorse. That's correct. The stage is influenced by Toxic Seahorse, but it's Volt Catfish.
So the thing about Xtreme 2 that I personally appreciate is that for most of the levels, or at least a good amount of them, they do try to not entirely recreate how it would have looked in the SNES counterpart, whereas Xtreme 1 does that more so to a fault. It too has its original beats, but the reason I very much appreciate this game is because Capcom had the incentive to try that a little bit more. So yeah, just one thing to mention, but yeah, so what I just did there was I went to the parts shop to buy Buster Plus 1 and Buster Plus 2, and they're going to make
You changed to Scramble. Interesting.
Yeah, I do.
I've never seen anyone actually do that. Because usually, I mean, I guess at this point in time you are correct. The weapon, the side weapons, the actual, like, boss weapons aren't really used that much in the stages, but here's Zero. Zero is interesting. A lot of people do not like Zero in Xtreme 2 because of the short range of his saber, but Zero is used throughout. Like, Zero's story, like Zero's mission himself, really, 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 really not a category anyone legitimately runs, to be honest. It's for decent stages, they are fun, but doing them individually outside of Extreme mode is kind of eh. It's the final boss of Zero's story that makes it really frustrating to run, because that final boss is really annoying. There are two main antagonists in this game, according to what we see here, which is Berkana and Gareth. You verse Berkana as X, and you verse Gareth as Zero. Gareth is a lot more frustrating.
Gareth was the guy that we saw after I defeated Skullhead at the first stage, where Berkana was the woman Reploid that we saw in the cutscene after I beat my second one. And it's actually really cool that they decided to even make a villainess for the X series, because, like, you would think that it's like one of those things where, okay, we're used to seeing the big bad always repeat, but no, they actually decided to throw in a female villainess for once, and I'm actually okay with that. I actually do like Berkana's witch design, and Gareth's knight design is pretty dang cool too, so yeah. Gareth, though, yeah, he's harder to fight, but you want to know the ironic part? My PB in any percent Zero mission is much faster than my current one in X mission, so yeah. I'm just gonna get one more part for safety's sake, because we're coming up to the second fortress stage, and the boss there is no fun. So I just want to make sure I'm as safe as I possibly can with that. And so what I'll be buying there is Saber +1 and the energy. I think it's equivalent. The other part's the equivalent to the energy balancer, except it turns your consumption of special weapons to half. I'm going to have some serious time to perform the platform skip.
Let's go. So this skip saves time.
Yes,
you do it.
Got it. First try.
It's been a really good run for you, honestly.
I'm hoping for a really good PB here.
You could very well PB. And
I'm very confident.
Don't say you're confident. This is we're on the Food Network, okay? You're going to lose. Bobby Flay is going to beat you. Please, like, that's not what you say at this point in time. I'm confident.
Oh boy. Okay, hang on. Yeah, there we go. All right, so this is Berkana 2, and the boss at the end is an original.
The final boss. So someone was mentioning, yeah, this boss, known as, people call it the Sphinx Tank. It actually has a name, Izaz and Zawilo.
Yeah, Isaac Zawilo may be original, but it's definitely one of the hardest things in the game.
It's really easy as Zero, but as X, it's one of the worst things you'll ever experience.
Oh my gosh, these platforms are not giving me a good cycle right now. One of them just spawned in very late. Okay, there we go. Oof.
Yeah, the funniest thing, though, is someone was mentioning the Extreme mode boss is actually really easy in the route we use, but I'll mention that after the run.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning stuff. Sorry, Tempest.
Oh no problem. Hey, it's really good having you on commentary, though. I've always wanted to do that since I've always had the honor of doing it for you, man.
Yeah, for sure. This section is something. If you like, oh yeah, we should mention Extreme 2 loves flashing lights. It's a good thing that currently the stream is outputting at 30 FPS for this, because if it was running at 60 FPS, trust me, you would see the lights.
Yeah.
All right. The final boss is just, I'm just gonna let you concentrate here. So the trick that we do here for Izaz and Zawilo is really quite something.
I don't think I do the usual trick, so I'm gonna use my version of it though. So I'm gonna use, oh no, I forgot to equip the energy half. Okay. Let's, well, okay.
You can actually still die and restart and do this again, but you won't have the energy.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so normally the trick here is you gotta go behind Isaz and Zawilo and keep yourself getting damaged so that you can shoot from behind. That's not something I've mastered yet, and the problem with that is if you don't have the right kind of health buff, you might as well consider that area an instant kill because it just touches you and it deals a lot of damage. And oh my gosh, that's actually not a good pattern. I'm gonna switch to Zero for safety here because, yeah, okay. It's always this one boss, but
Yeah,
think
so remember that Extreme. One thing about Extreme 2 that's really good though is the fact that Extreme 2 is pretty generous with its restarts. So if you get a game over here, you can just technically like reboot the console and load your save that way.
Ooh, I almost had him. All right.
Yeah, so Ice and Zawilo is so you should at this point, the way that we would save this is to actually just you don't even have to hit retry. You can reset the console, or in your case the emulator, and load the save.
Okay, let's do that real fast.
Don't hit save state.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna. Oh no. Oh right. Soft reset.
Start select AB.
Got it.
Okay,
All right. So
you're
now I'm
welcome.
just gonna go to the continue menu, and we are going to enter autosave. So what
Yeah,
this means
autosave is a
that-
great feature in this game.
So every time I hit a checkpoint, specifically a checkpoint, not the boss hall, the autosave, whenever you return to the game, can take you back here. Oh, I almost just died there. That would have been bad. Basically, you can only do it once, though. So, yeah,
You
I
still
never
have two
really...
lives. That's the thing. You start with the amount of lives that you have, so you actually have 2 shots at this next boss. Make sure to equip Energy Saver.
Yes, we'll do.
To make Zero easier. So basically, Zero has something called Zero Final. Zero Final is super useful in Extreme mode. It's basically this thing that you can menu, and what it allows you to do is it just basically acts sort of similar to a move that he has normally called Dash, except it does 10 points of damage for everything it hits. There are 2 parts to Izes and Zawilo, the head and the main body. Both of those have their individual health bars. They're about half of the health bar you see. And so what Tempest is going to try to do here is to use it once on the main body and then try it again on both.
Ooh. Okay, so I tried gutting around him when he cornered me there. I forgot though that I could use the Z Saber to push him
The
back.
Z Saber can push back that. Yeah, so now you only have half the Zero Final you do. You only have 1 Zero
It's all
Final.
good. But yeah, Isaz and Suilo are certainly doing a good job showing why we all hate this boss. It's
a lot easier on 100% in all categories. Any percent is just really garbage in this boss. Any percent is garbage in this boss.
It's what I prefer to do. Because I haven't much experience in the other categories, but alas, he's not.
Yeah, you're gonna want to jump off the platform once it's done. Switch to 0.
No,
Switch to 0.
I did, and I almost had him too. Okay, we're gonna have to.
Well, you're gonna have to restart the entire stage at this point, so I might as well talk a little bit more about the game in general.
How about bring up DNA Souls, because that's something we didn't do.
Yeah. So, DNA Souls in this game, and this is why the estimate's so generous, by the way. Although, to be completely honest as well, this boss, as soon as you learn how to do the method that as a Tempest can't do at this moment, it becomes a lot easier. Albeit it's still not easy, but it is. You'll get it within. If you don't get it within your first attempt, you'll get it within your second, because if you have lives, you're going to have health refilled completely, and you'll be able to get it with full health bar. So, it looks hard. It's honestly not that hard once you learn the proper methodology. Although, for beginning runners, this is always the point which is very difficult.
Even casual players, like...
I mean, of course, casual players. That's what it's the infamous boss from this game. The hitboxes are very strange in a lot of places, and it's just like, why would I get hit there? Why does this work? Yeah. But Extreme 2 is very generous in that it has a lot of ability to restart. But the DNA Souls, memes of the reference to never mind.
Memes are the DNA to the soul. Shout out to
Yes.
Monsoon from Metal Gear.
Yes, but seriously, this DNA Souls are basically both a currency and the health drops in the game. Basically, there's the shop system, as you've already seen. You get 200 DNA Souls from beating a boss, although sometimes, for some reason, out of nowhere, the game can only give you 100. Don't know why it happens. It just sometimes happens. And likewise, you need to, in order to unlock certain things in the shop, you need to have a certain amount of DNA Souls available.
And it has to be in your pocket, as not total.
Yeah, you have to have not spent them.
This might be it. Oh, come on. please.
Yeah,
please,
those
please.
are checkpoints. Those are saves.
Yes! Finally!
Okay, there we go. That was close though, man. We got it.
Well, we saved the run. I'm not getting the PB, but we saved the run.
for sure, you're still gonna be well under estimate if the last
Heck
section goes
yes.
well. So basically, what I was mentioning before, though, DNA souls are also the drops, so you get both weapon and health. A small one is worth 4, a double one is worth 8, and a big one, triple, is worth 16. Because that's how numbers work. 4 times 4 is 1, so 2 is 8, and 3 is obviously 16. I thought it was 12 because that's what makes sense, but no, it's 16. Don't ask me why.
It's
yeah,
okay.
Berkana is
Honestly,
actually one of the easiest final bosses in the game. Is the easiest, I would argue. Berkana is super easy to get through.
Doesn't mean that she doesn't have her tricks. So
This
how
is
that
true.
fight is going to work is once we get to her, she'll try to use these A and B spheres. Hope you like those letters because you'll be seeing them quite a bit. Now, these spheres, I can destroy them, but if they do hit me, she's either going to turn the walls or the floor into spikes. Now, luckily, the effects do not cross over, meaning that if I get hit by an A sphere, the effects of the B sphere won't linger. It'll just be that sphere. And this is important because depending on what I get hit by, that button will get locked. So if it's an A sphere, I can't jump. If it's a B sphere, I can't attack. This little serious trick, this thingy here, this is why we need the foot parts. Despite Berkana being the easier of the final bosses in a category for this game, this section is probably the cruelest because we don't really think there's much of a way to get past it without the foot parts.
Yeah, I don't even.
wave-
It's not like they didn't even think about it as being like, huh, what could you do? Because at this point you can't even, as you may have already mentioned, my bad. You can't even switch back to 0, so you can't even use an
I
air
didn't
dash to
mention
the
that, but
side.
yes.
This point in time, 0 and X are supposed to have split, and the other thing about this is that in extreme mode, your choice of who you finish the character as does influence which stage you go to. It influences which stage you go to pretty significantly, actually. So, for instance, if you're trying to do 100% in extreme mode, you actually need to finish as X, because there is a secret capsule here that has the Shoryuken and the Hadouken, both secret weapons from X1 and X2.
That gray panel right there is false electricity, because I'll show it right here. That passage right there is where the capsule would have been if I gotten every life up, armor upgrade piece, and sub-tank. Which is also available in extreme mode, but
yeah, the thing about it is it's useless because we don't have the charge shot, and also it's even not that effective as a special weapon, even, to be honest.
One nice thing about it, though, is that they took away the handicap where you have to be at full health. But
yeah,
anyway,
but it's
time is
not
coming up on the
powerful.
final hit here, so once we beat Berkana, that's time.
Mhm.
Alright. Now, I mentioned her main gimmick. She also has a couple other attacks that are not necessarily as threatening, and not to mention that we have the Buster +1 and +2 combo that just makes her health go down just like that. And I'm getting a really good pattern here. Oh, wait, but I'm gonna
really easy way you can avoid these is just by going actually at the bottom. You can actually, one of the ways you can do this easier is by actually staying near the bottom.
Actually killed me.
Oh.
Well,
So one of the things you can do to help out Tempest for your next part, your next attempt, stay at the bottom, jump to full height. You're gonna have enough height to hit her every time. So you can actually then dash to avoid on the ground for B. She's throwing B's at you because she's using the alphabet. We hate the alphabet. So getting hit with A is going to prevent you from jumping. Getting hit with B is going to prevent you from shooting. And so that's her thing. That's her shtick. It's funny because A.
But now she just locked my jumping, and the worst part is this attack I can't really dodge until it wears off. She's now generating a spike ball. Oh, hang on, and time.
That was close again. You're having such close endings, but there we go. That's Mega Man Xtreme 2, everyone. That's just half of it. You do get at the end of this the best face in the entirety of gaming, though. Watch. Every time I see this face, I laugh. I love this face. so much.
He's
It's
trying to
just-
smile.
He's trying to smile, but it looks so smug. Oh man, it's just like, But that's Mega Man Xtreme 2. Anything you'd like to shout out or mention, Tempest?
Oh, yeah. Well, first off, shout out to the Delta Mudkip for that typing of the Dead reference right there. Suffer like G did. Nah, for real though, shout out to Kate Poisson. He holds most of the world records in most of the categories. A shout out to Elpis, who holds the world record currently to Extreme Mode any percent. Phazon Knight, shout out to him as well. Poisson and Phazon's videos are what helped me get up to grips with Xtreme 2, and this was my debut game, so honestly, the help that they gave me and seeing Focus as well, shout out to them. We Xtreme 2 runners, there's not too much of us, although I do want to also give a shout out to young Zorn, who started picking up the game, and we're thankful to have you on board.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a small community here with Xtreme 2. But it is not. It's a game that is. It's one of the only speed games I can think of, or very few speed games I can think of, where I was like, as soon as I played it like casually, I'm like, I want to speedrun this. I usually think of games, and I sort of think of games. I'm like, okay, I've enjoyed it casually. Maybe I should think about speedrunning it, or like, oh, I'm gonna pick this up because I think this will be a fun speedrun. This is one of the games where it's like, I played it casually, beat it, and I'm like, I want to beat it again, but faster. That's honestly, Xtreme 2 is really addictive as a game.
It really is.
And despite maybe what you may have seen in the second thing, I would recommend actually the best category to start with. Personally, I mean, you could do any % X mission. It's honestly not that bad once you figure out how the Sphinx tanks works, or as in Zoilo. I actually recommend Xtreme 100% because it's a much safer category overall. The more 100% stuff you do, the safer it is in the X series, to be honest. Most of the time. We're actually not. We're going to see an example of the opposite of that coming up soon, actually. Where 100% is basically worthless. And it's going to reference, because it's funny, this game is called X2, Rockman X2 Solar Racer. The game we're going to show next is Rockman X2. They're the different games, we promise.
Yeah, this game actually takes place in between X3 and X4, which is why you saw Iris from X4. Her design's actually different, though they use the wrong colors in that shot, just a little tidbit. But hey, if you guys want to see me do the zero mission category, I actually have a any % zero mission run coming up at Cursorial. So that's going to be a college run marathon, and yeah, well, I'll try to see if I can share the link to that. That should actually be within maybe a few days. I'll double check the schedule, but if you liked what you saw here and you want to see what you missed out on within the other category, then yeah, that'll be something to look forward to.
There's also, I recommend watching like an Extreme Mode run as well. Extreme Mode is personally what I think is the full game, because it's, you know, it's a L8, it's the traditional style. And yeah, thank you so much for running for us, Tempest. It's great to have you, and it was really fun to see. Sorry you didn't get that PB, but just keep on going for it. You're gonna get that at some point.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Let's do this again sometime, Focus.
I mean, sure, but I mean, we only usually do showcases once.
Oh no, not this showcase commentary.
Okay, I'm like, sure, I'll get in touch with Shockwave. Shockwave, you want to do this again tomorrow?
All right. Oh yeah. Also, yeah, feel free to follow me at Steve Vortex VA if you. That's my
on Twitter.
I'll try to post stream links whenever it's not impromptu. But yeah, that'll be all for me. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry that this wasn't the cleanest second half, but hey, I had a good first half. It was very clean first.
Don't worry, you were underestimate. That's all that matters.
Absolutely. So hey, again, if you want to see Zero Mission, that'll be Cursorial. But until next time, it was a pleasure being here. My name is TempestMask1000, and I hope to see you soon. Ciao, amici.